Well, hello and welcome to episode number 2 of TBC, the board crew. Great to be joining you again. I'm Ben and
I'm Bronson.
Today we're talking about 3 great games. Today's episode is brought by the letter S.
Yes, it reminds me of a syndicated children's educational TV show that we won't name in case they bring the hammer on us.
Oh, that's true. But I mean, it does have like a seed sort of avenue,
Yeah,
I guess you could say, which also starts with S. So that's great.
Coincidentally, sesames are my favourite snack. And
they are great, son. So, and if you can have them walking down the street, it's just amazing.
It's a delight. So, yeah.
It's really good. But like I said, we're talking about games, not favorite not favorite TV shows. So today we're going to be looking at Sheriff of Nottingham.
Skull and Roses.
We're going to round out the episode talking about the great game Space. Space. I feel like you should always like pigs in space.
Yeah.
Space.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's funny that all the like kind of offbeat sci-fi and TV shows that it reminds me of as well, like Final Space.
That's a great series. Okay, we're getting off track.
Yeah, already.
So we're going to dive into it.
All right.
Alrighty, so first game we're going to be talking about is Sheriff of Nottingham. This is published by Arcane Wonders and designed by Sergio Halbane and Andre Zatz. Hopefully I pronounced those right. I feel better about their last name than their first names, but we'll see how we go.
Yep.
So Sheriff of Nottingham is kind of like a bluffing, kind of a bit more blackmail sort of bribing game than bluffing.
Yep.
The interesting thing about this game is you could actually win by telling the truth 100% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come out on top.
There is a really strong component to the metagaming there. It's good to know who you're playing with. Is this someone who loves to take a bluff when they can? Is this someone who plays it straight and honest? And of course, there's multiple rounds in the game, so you can learn a lot about that player from how they played in the first round.
Definitely. Fool me once, shame on you.
Yeah.
Fool me twice, I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you actually play. Everyone's going to be given a player board. You're all going to be essentially outlaws trying to smuggle or bring in goods to Nottingham. One player will be the sheriff, but that will rotate each round so that everyone gets a chance to be the sheriff. And there's a number of goods that the evil King John has allowed people to be trading in. So you're allowed to trade apples, cheese, chicken, and bread. The problem with apples, cheese, chicken, and bread is they don't really fetch the same kind of prices as, say, jewels or crossbows or mead or like fine wine, etc. Because, Prince John wants all that stuff for himself, not having the peasants having it.
Absolutely. So, also, not all apples are, equal.
That's true.
There is the illustrious golden apple, which gets you some good points.
Yeah, and you can have the royal rooster, etc. But all of that stuff is not allowed for peasants. You should not be caught with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we don't let blue vein cheese in our fine town.
Yeah, pretty much. So each player is going to have a hand of cards and a little bag. And basically, you're going to put stuff in that bag. After you've put everything in the bag, you're going to close it up and hand it over to the sheriff. Once you've handed it over to the sheriff, you can't touch that bag again, and it's in the sheriff's hot little hands. Now, at this point, you might want to be starting to bribe the sheriff to either open or not open your bag. The issue comes for you is if the sheriff opens your bag and everything's good, and it's like you said it was, you said, Sheriff, I'm bringing in 4 apples, and it turns out you've just got 4 apples in your bag. The sheriff's actually going to have to pay you for the inconvenience of searching through an honest merchant. However, if you say you've got 4 apples and you have anything other than 4 apples, so maybe you've got 3 apples and a cheese. Cheese is legal, but you're only allowed to import one kind of good, and so the sheriff will smack you down, and you have to pay him for the cheese that you've smuggled in. If, on the other hand, you're also trying to smuggle in, say, a crossbow, you're going to have to pay big. Now, you know that the sheriff's got the option to open that bag. So maybe you're like, hey, Bronson, how about if I give you 3 shillings, I think it is? I don't know, pounds, silver, for you to not open my bag? That'd be really good. I'll pay you. You just look the other way. Now, it's up to Bronson whether he wants to open the bag or take my money. If he takes the money, then he cannot open the bag. However, he might just... There's that little snap. Yeah. Each bag has this great little clip that you just get that snap. As soon as you hear that snap, all bets are off. The sheriff has decided to dig in. The thing that I really like about this game is it's not just between me and Bronson. If he's the sheriff, I can actually be, hey, Tony's sitting over there. I'm pretty sure he's got contraband. I'm going to pay you money to open Tony's bag, Bronson. Go for it. Just watch him sweat. So you can trade a whole heap of stuff. There's bonuses for the person that smuggles or brings in, say, the most of various goods. So if you're the cheese lord, by the end of it, you're going to get some extra points and stuff. And the fact that everyone gets to be the sheriff once just means that, everyone gets that chance to both lie to and be lied to, but also plainly tell the truth and watch someone stumble because, they didn't believe you.
Yeah. I also really like the speed of the game. It's a pretty quick game, which means that, in a session you could have multiple rounds of the game, keeping the the points or the way people are playing really fresh. You're not always going to be Lord of the Apples or the Cheese Master. I also really love the aesthetics, the design of the game. I think it really embraces how multimodal a board game can be, with that click of the bag, but also with the illustrations on the cards. Yeah, that's a really fleshed out, appreciated design.
Yep, 100%. And it's just got some really nice graphical design touches. So all your legal goods are a nice bright green around the borders. All the contraband is this fierce red. And you've also got this interesting thing of when your bag comes back, if it hasn't been searched, you will carefully lay out all the legal goods that you had face up for everyone to show. But the contraband that you got through is face down. So everyone knows that you just smuggled something in, but they don't know how valuable it is. They just let it go. But it also is a big sort of middle finger to the sheriff going I just got this past you.
Yeah.
And they're just looking going, could have got them. So
absolutely. It does, though. It gives a really clear illustration of how a player is playing that game. If they have a lot of face down cards, then their chances are they're probably going to smuggle in some contraband. Or maybe that's just this big bluff, this telegraphing intentionally to incentivize people to open their goods and have a look through and find out it's all hunky dory.
Yep.
How do you play the game?
I mean, I'd like to say well, but I don't think that I win that often.
Yeah.
I tend to get a little bit fixated on becoming the Lord of Bread or whatever it is. Just going I'm just going to push hard for that. And then trying to get some good smuggled contraband in. I've got a couple of mini expansions, which are interesting contraband that do different things if you get to smuggle it in. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I get a bit trapped up in going, if I pull this off, then it does something great. And then I think the table can read that I'm really excited about what's in my bag. So it gets searched. But I do love making people sweat when I'm the sheriff.
Yep.
There's something great about just having the power of all those bags, letting the players play off each other, and you're just sitting back and reaping the rewards.
Yeah,
actually.
Absolutely. A real Stanford prison experiment. I have one round of rifling through everyone's stuff. Why wouldn't I?
It's just great.
Yeah.
I will say, if you really hate lying and bluffing or trying to determine if other people are lying, this is a better game than some other bluffing games. But really, if that's not your jam, you're still not going to really enjoy Sheriff, I don't think.
Yeah, even though there are ways to play the game honestly, it's a really big part of the game. Type of table you're playing at can really shape your enjoyment.
Yeah, yep. I mean, even if you don't have to lie and you can do really well, but other people will lie to you in this game. It's just guaranteed that that's going to happen at some point. So if that makes you uncomfortable, then recommend not this one.
Yeah. Now, I've only had experience playing the vanilla standalone version of the game. You mentioned off mic that there were some expansions.
Yeah, so I haven't played the big box expansion, but I've got a couple of the mini ones. So I've got a card that's called the Gamble, where you can put it in with your goods and then it doubles the penalty or the reward. that you get out of getting through,
Wow.
which is really, really quite nice.
Yeah.
There's a couple other little ones there's one which is the King's Decree, which means if the sheriff opens your bag, then they have to pay for the contraband that goes through.
Wow.
And just a couple of little interesting like ways to mix it up, but they're just singular cards that just get added to the deck. So
Yeah.
you may not even see them in a playthrough, but
Yeah.
that's nice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, something I'm mindful of with expansions is like, how does it affect one's enjoyment of the standalone version of the game? Like, is it just going to be a new part that makes it really hard to go back? I find Seven Wonders expansions like that,
Yep.
or even the Catan expansions like that.
Definitely, yeah.
Sounds like though there's good lastability, good replayability, even with that expansion included.
Yep, 100%. So that's Sheriff of Nottingham. That'll do 2 to 5 players, although really I'd say 3 to 5.
Yep.
Wouldn't mind playing that with 2. The expansion apparently can go up to 6, but I feel like that's going to be a long game. Stick with the 3 to 5 and have fun.
Yeah. Do you have, I guess, house rules that you incorporate with Sheriff, or have you ever played outside of the rules, or do you feel like it's all pretty well put together?
No, that one I pretty much play straight. Well, that was Sheriff of Nottingham.
This next game on the rank is Skull, or Skull and Roses. It's been published in 2011 by Hervé Marlet, who was a playtester for Bruno Fay-Duty from Citadel's fame and glory. Skull, I really like this game. It's super simple. There is a small learning curve to it, but once you've seen like a round or two of this game, it's really easy to pick up. It's really a small form as well, so really easy to add to a shelf or bookcase full of board games.
Yeah.
I've seen it categorized as a party game, and yeah, I'll give it that. Like, I feel like it's a chill kind of game that you can bring to different social situations and contexts and not feel like you're going to be that guy bringing that game that, are you having fun? You're having fun, right? No, it's pretty easy to pick up and enjoy. It's a 3 to 6 player game, although that can be expanded on. It's ages 10 and up, and it's a 15 to 45 minute game.
I would not have guessed 10 and up. I would have said gosh, I reckon a 6-year-old could handle Skull.
Ooh,
really.
okay. I thought you were going to go the other way. Those skulls, they're pretty menacing.
Oh, I mean, the artwork could maybe, it's kind of like Tim Burton creepy. It's not scary. It's just creepy.
Yeah. This is a game that strongly centered around bluffing. You have a hand of cards, of 4 cards. 3 of them are roses. One of them is a skull. You take turns secretly placing a card face down in turns until one player decides they want to make a bid to pick up those cards. In order to get a point in this game, you want to pick up all roses, no skulls. As soon as you pick up a skull, you don't lose a point, but you definitely don't get a point. And what's worse is that whoever's skull you pick up, they get to, at random, discard a card from your hand. So it really does keep the game alive and moving pretty fast in that way. You can play it straight. You don't have to bluff, and again, that's part of that metagaming, like knowing who you're playing with, what they're like, and maybe someone's character and how you've known them for years is all just a big deception because they want to win this game as well. But it's unlikely.
I guess an important part is too, like if I say I'm going to pick up 5 cards, I have to start with my pile. So if I put down a skull, I know I'm picking that back up. And so maybe I say, hey, I can pick up 5 because what I want is for Bronson to go, I could pick up 6.
And I know that your 5 are good. Otherwise, why would you have said 5?
Why would I say I could pick them up if I couldn't? So, and so Bronson might go 6. But Bronson might have a skull and, suddenly... Dan next to him is like, man, I could do 7. That's fine. I'll start with Bronson. His looks good.
Absolutely. When picking up cards, when making those bids, it's really important to remember you've got to pick up the entirety of your pile first before you can move on to somebody else's pile of cards. And whenever you start a pile of cards, you have to finish that as well. You can't just pick the top off every other player's.
Which I mean, the thing about Skull is the rules are so simple that everyone will get the rules in 60 seconds. But I also, every time I've played this, everyone's like, I don't get that this is a game.
Yeah.
And so everyone plays the first round going like, this is dumb. This is like, we should just be flipping cards and going like, we might as well play war.
Yeah.
Like just, woohoo, I got the higher card, sucker.
Yeah.
And then usually by the second or third round, you just see it click.
Yeah.
And suddenly people are like, wait a minute. And then there's just so much more game than what the rules belay.
Yeah, absolutely. A really, I think, interesting point. And like, if, this game is on your radar, but you're a little bit like, I don't know if I want to, spend that money. There are ways to play this with a deck of playing cards, really, or any assets. Maybe you want to just use some coasters that have two sides. But I do really appreciate the published game. I think the aesthetics are Mickey Mouse. The design on these cards is, really aesthetic, really fun. A coffee table book of board games. Looks cool. You can have it on display and enjoy that. But for sure, if you just want to get into the game first, play it and see if you like it before you get into it, there are ways to do that. You can have 3 red cards, 1 black card, or you can do like royal cards as your skull and then number cards as your roses.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally play this with bits of paper with skull or rose written on it as well. It's nice in one sense. I reckon the publishers knew this is a game you could make at home without any problems. And so they've actually put real effort into making it a game that you want to pay for, not necessarily for the rule set because, we've explained it. You could go make your own skull set now, but actually because you'll have a beautiful game that will just make everyone actually really sad when they have to give away one of their coasters.
Yeah,
Because you're like, oh, they look so good.
Yeah. What I will say, though, is if you're a fan of like keeping your board games in pristine condition, unless you have a laminator, I don't know how you'd go about protecting these cards. I know mine certainly have some ring marks where cups have been placed, but I'm okay with that. I feel like it adds to the like legacy of my copy of the game.
Yeah, 100%. And you're not going to get the kind of marks that obviously show which one is the skull or something because they're just all going to be similarly marked.
Yeah.
It's
not
you're
that you'll know.
Yeah. Maybe that's why you win all the time.
Yeah.
And so how long does a game take, you reckon?
Well, it says 15 to 45. I've played with 6 players and it's never taken 45 minutes.
Yeah, I reckon 45, you've got to have some really slow players at that point.
Yeah. Maybe if you were socializing while you were playing.
Yeah,
I could see it taking 45 minutes. But...
Yeah, how much trash talk can you fit in?
Yeah. But no, I'd give it a like pretty average 15 to 20 minute. Definitely for a 3-player game, you're looking at 15 minutes and you could probably safely add like 3 to 5 minutes for each additional player.
Yeah, because I mean, you're only playing to what, 2 points?
2 points.
2 points. First person to get it twice in a row. The other option is you can go out backwards.
Yeah.
By losing all your cards.
Yeah.
By getting it wrong 4 times. So.
Which can be tough, once you lose your skull card.
If everyone at the table works out that you've lost your skull card, you're a limp
target.
duck.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
So that was Skull. Okay, and so for our final game, we're talking about Space. This is by John DeClaire and plays 2 to 5 players. Space is the kind of game where you will roll a die and then do some stuff, which sounds bad, but it's actually really good. Essentially, you're going to have a board of 1 to 12. Each turn, you'll roll 2 dice, and then you can either choose to take the 2 dice individually. So say I rolled a 1 and a 6. I could take a 1 and a 6, or I could take whatever my 7 is. And the great thing about Space is, though, while I'm taking my either 1 or 6 or 7, Bronson at the other side of the table gets to choose the same thing, but he's not taking his main board. He's taking the sort of opponent's actions part of his board.
Yeah, it's points for nothing.
Yeah, that's it. And so every turn you're checking the dice to see what little goodies you get from it. Every turn you can buy a new card, which adds to what you get on a particular number. And so you're building up a bit of an engine of going to get more and more stuff. The different kind of things you can get is you can get money, which everyone loves. You can get what's called economy, which means that your money just gets reset instead of going down to 0, gets reset to a higher number as that increases. Or the thing that you really want is rockets, because the first player to 40 rockets is the winner of the game.
It's all about the points.
So yep, that's it. And it's really easy sometimes, I think, in Space Base to get a little bit lost in that you're actually on about points, because you can have this great engine that like makes you so much money and all these cool little special abilities and stuff. And then you're like, I'm not making any rockets, and Bronson's already at 30 and I'm in trouble.
Yeah. But I need the money. I need the currency so I can get the points. But hang on a sec.
Yeah.
You've already got points.
Space Base is the kind of game that will be over far faster than you originally thought. You'll play the first couple of turns and you're like, wow, we are not getting anywhere.
Early game is slow.
Yep. And you're just sitting there going, ooh, nothing is really happening. And then suddenly someone gets, 4 points and you're like, they've got another 36. And then the next turn they get 8 points and you're like, oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Absolutely. There is an additional card that I don't think we spoke about, or an additional, what would you call them, ship in your fleet, which are just straight up points. They, pretty cool. They cost a lot of money, but they do get you just some straight up points, nice and easy. Downside being, though, it like blocks your ability to put any more cards on that allocated number.
So that number will still work on other people's turns when they roll that number, but you won't ever have any ability for you to roll that number anymore.
Yeah.
Which can be painful, but for late game, you can get a lot of points. In fact, I think the highest one is 21 points, which, that's over half your points.
Yeah, I think it costs like 42 coins though.
Yeah, it's not cheap. I haven't seen too many games where someone's managed to buy that particular one, but I have seen ones where someone's been way behind and just been able to buy a couple of those over a couple of turns and suddenly shoot from sort of around 10 points up to the 40 mark and, beat the people that were slow and steady going for the race.
Have you been playing this game on BGA much?
Yeah, actually, I think out of all of the games that I own, this would be the one that I prefer playing on BGA the most. Don't get me wrong, the physical game is great and it's nice to roll the dice and sort of look in people's eyes as, they roll the thing that you really want, but it's a little fiddly.
Yeah.
Moving those little cards. Each card is kind of like, it's almost like a rusk stick shape.
Yeah.
I guess
don't give them to your kids or chew on them or anything.
No, don't chew on them. They're still thin cards, but they're also narrow and long, and just lifting them up, flipping them over, slotting them under your board. I'm not trying to make it out as worse than it is, but there's something nice about online just clicking and going, I'll take that card.
Yeah.
And then BGA does it for you.
If you're considering a physical copy, it's the kind of game you need a table for.
Yeah.
But at least you don't have to keep it set up on that table for time immortal.
No, that's it. It's a fairly short game. You're probably looking at about 45 minutes, maybe an hour if people are a little bit slowish about it. But it is one that I really like playing on BGA because it's quick and fast. And I reckon you do a game in about 15 minutes on BGA.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Why I bring BGA up, though, is they recently made a bit of a house rule. Are you familiar with this?
Oh, is that taking out the hurt other players card?
Yeah.
So there is one card in the sort of, 50, 60 cards that actually can make other people lose points. It's one card.
One card.
But some people really hate that. I mean, you can take it out in your physical copy as well if that's really something that you don't want to happen.
Yeah. I haven't found it changes the game that much, removing it. It felt balanced in its place in the total cards. It's like trying to remember what number it's associated to.
I think it's actually a 7, which is quite nice to have. But you don't actually, I think you only lose 2 or 3 points, which is not that much. And they can only use it once per round anyway.
Yeah.
So even if lots of 7s get rolled, it's not that amazing. You often find that at the start, it feels quite powerful because you're only getting maybe 1 or 0 points per round. But in the rounds where you're getting like 10 or 12 points, you're kind of like, take 3 off me. Like, it's still not giving you any points.
Yeah.
So. Like, I'm going to leave you in the dust.
Yeah.
There is another really interesting card, which is called the You Win card.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's a number 12, so it's hard to roll, but you get that 3 times and you just win the game.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what other people were up to.
The first time I played this game, pretty early on, being introduced into a board game group, playing this game, it's the first time I've seen it, and somebody was talking about the cards and the types of cards, and they were like, oh yeah, there's a card where if you get it, like, you win the game. And I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. I wasn't really expecting it to be that, like, straightforward. Like, no, you win. I was expecting something like, you get a lot of points.
Yep.
Nah, if you play that card right, sure, it's on the 12, so really hard to get. But there are other cards that have lower numbers associated to them that allow you to move counters that measure
the charges.
Yeah. So if you get a really, like, cohesive, synced up board, you can get that pretty simply. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, there's other cards that allow you to re-roll dice or increase the value of dice. And so you can really start fine-tuning your engine, because there's cards that let you take all the benefits of that card and then all the neighbor's card as well. So, you know, every time I roll a 9, I'm taking everything on the 9 and everything on the 8, you know.
And if you get that right, that goes all the way from the number 7 to number 12. So if you stack that, you're just getting points for days.
I mean, the table's never going to let you do that because they're going to buy it instead.
Yeah. And there's a lot of spite that happens, especially online, where, like, if you've got 1 or 2 of those, it doesn't even matter if someone's benefiting from getting it. They're just blocking you.
Yeah, they're not letting you take that.
Yeah.
No way. So,
what I find really interesting about Space is how the game changes depending on how many players are on the table. You've mentioned that, like, there's the cards that give you points on your turn, but you're also getting points and currency on other people's turn. So the way that you build your engine, your cards, really does rely on how many people are playing, because if you're playing a 3-player game, there's 2 people having turns to your 1. So you may as well push for things that are going to be better on other people's than yours.
Yeah, 100%. And it's nice that they've got balancing aspects on some of the cards, which change depending on how many players there are and whether it's on your side or on the opponent's turn side. With obviously more players, the ones that are on your side often give better benefits. The ones that are on opponent's side sort of drop down just to make, because there's a big difference if you get 1 turn out of 5 as opposed to 1 turn out of 2.
Yeah,
Yeah, look, I really like Space. It's a really good game. If you've played an older game called Machikoro, it's a very similar feel to that. I think Space is just a little bit smoother, a better refinement, and gets started a bit faster than Machikoro. Machikoro is possibly almost twice the length of Space, and all of that length is in the beginning.
Yeah.
You just, Space is nice. You start with 12 cards, and so on your turn, at least, you're always going to get something. Machikoro, you start with 1 card, and you might get something on your turn. And it takes a while to get something on anyone else's turn as well.
Yeah.
So if you played Machikoro and you like it, which I do, then you're going to love Space. If you've never played Machikoro, then I recommend giving Space a go. If you played Machikoro and you hated it, depends on why you hated it.
Yeah.
If you hated it because it goes too long, then Space might be the answer. If you just hate the mechanic, there's nothing here in Space I think that's going to change your mind. That was Space.
Space.
Awesome. So that's wrapping up our episode. Again, we talked about Sheriff of Nottingham, we talked about Skull, and we talked about Space. Bronson, out of these 3, if we had to go play one after this episode, which would you pick?
Probably.
Imagining we have enough players to play.
Okay, all right. So dream scenario. Oh gosh, I'm feeling a bit of Space at the moment. I've got to say, my win to loss is terrible on BGA. Like, I think I've won 2 out of like 20 games, but it doesn't stop me from playing. It's a really fun game, and once you get your engine running, it's pretty rewarding.
Oh yeah, it is pretty good. I am much better at Space on BGA than I am in person.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I'm a shark on BGA. I think I got above 300 elo at one point with it, and I was like, "Wow, this is my best game on BGA." in person, I'm not that much of a threat.
Right. Well, yeah, no, I am definitely not a shark on VGA. So if you look up the Bronsoy and you're looking for an easy win, yeah.
Yeah, look, I think for me, out of the three, it would probably be Sheriff of Nottingham, possibly because it's been the one that it's the longest since I've played it again. And there's just something great about having a table that stares each other in the eyes and just goes, look, I'll pay you to let me get away with this.
And who can forget that Pavlovian click?
Oh, you gotta love the click. Someone say. In fact, let's end the episode with we'll see you next time.
See you then.
We'll be pretty close to half an hour.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
amazing how this works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.